Google might have just completely changed the game for AI development with a brand new update to their Gemini API. It's called the File Search Tool, and today we're going to break down exactly how it turns one of the biggest headaches in AI into a simple, almost magical solution. But to really get why this is such a huge deal, we have to start with a really basic question. What's the one thing that even the most powerful AI, like Gemini, knows absolutely nothing about? The answer? It's simple. It's your world. All of your specific, private, and personal information, it's a complete black box to them. And that right there is the heart of the problem. You see, large language models have this massive blind spot. They're trained on the public internet, which is unbelievably vast, but it isn't everything. Think about it like this. An LLM can write a sonnet or debug some tricky code because that stuff is all out there, in public. But it knows absolutely nothing about your company's internal documents, your private project notes, or, the user manual for your specific car. And for developers, getting an AI to understand all that private info has been a monster of a challenge. So the way we've traditionally tried to solve this is with something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. But building a RAG system yourself, well, historically, that's been an absolute engineering nightmare. So what exactly is RAG? Well, in the simplest terms, it's the process of connecting a language model to an outside knowledge source, like all of your documents, so that it can ground its answers in specific facts, not just the general stuff it was trained on. And this is a fantastic way to think about it. RAG is like giving the AI an open book test. Instead of forcing it to recall everything from its vast memory, you're just letting it look up the right answer in your specific textbook. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. Okay, this is where that beautiful simplicity just falls apart. Building a RAG pipeline from scratch is a serious project. First, you've got to source all your documents and break them down into these perfectly sized little chunks. Then you have to create embeddings, which are basically numerical versions of those chunks. After that, you need to set up, manage, and pay for a specialized vector database. And finally, you have to build these complex systems just to retrieve the right information and then rank it. Seriously, every single one of these steps is its own giant infrastructure headache. It's been a huge barrier to entry, locking this powerful technology away from so many developers. To put it bluntly, it's been a complex, expensive, multi-stage engineering nightmare. That is, until now. And this is where Google's new tool just swoops in. It takes that entire nightmare we just talked about and transforms it into a simple, elegant API. The Gemini File Search Tool, well, it is a RAG system, but here's the magic trick. It's fully managed. It hides all of that insane complexity and just automates the entire pipeline for you. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. What used to be this huge mountain of complex engineering work, the kind of thing that required multiple teams and specialized knowledge, has now been shrunk down to just a few lines of code. It's a fundamental shift, a real game changer. So, how in the world does Google pull this off? How do they hide all that complexity? Well, the magic is in this simple two-phase process. First up, there's this one-time offline indexing process. When you upload your files, the system just takes over. It automatically breaks them into meaningful chunks using semantic understanding. Then it converts those chunks into embeddings and stores them in a specialized, super optimized database. All that heavy lifting is just handled for you in one go. And then comes the second phase, real-time querying. So a user asks a question. The system is smart enough to figure out if the answer is probably in your files. If it is, it generates an optimized search query, finds the most relevant pieces of text from your index data, and then feeds all that context to the final Gemini model to generate a precise, grounded answer. This whole sophisticated dance happens completely behind the scenes with just a single API call. So yeah, the setup is super simple. But what this unlocks? Wow, it's massive. Let's look at the three biggest breakthroughs this new approach really enables. Okay, number one is a no-brainer, speed. Your development time just gets slashed. What used to be a multi-month project for a whole engineering team can now be prototyped and built in a tiny fraction of the time. All right, the second breakthrough is the cost barrier. And you guys, this is where it gets truly disruptive. Get this, data storage is free. Creating the embeddings when you ask a question, also free. You only pay a tiny one-time fee to index your files, plus the standard rates for the context used in the final answer. This just completely flips the economics of building this kind of AI on its head. And third, you're not giving up any power for all this simplicity. Right out of the box, you get support for dozens of different file types, and it automatically provides citations for its answers, pointing you right back to the exact source documents it used. So let's just recap, right? You're building way faster through an API, the cost barrier to entry has been drastically lowered, you get powerful features like broad file support and automatic citations, and it's all managed for you. This all leads to a really profound shift. It's not just about the tech, it's about what's now possible for you, for the builders and the creators out there. You know, for years, the power to build AI that truly understands your private data was locked away behind this huge wall of complexity and cost. Well, with file search, Google has just taken a sledgehammer to that wall. The whole game has changed. The fundamental challenge has shifted. For developers, the question isn't how on earth do we even begin to build this complex system anymore? The question isn't how to build this anymore. That part's been solved. The real question is now for you. With this kind of grounded AI being so accessible and so affordable, what are you going to build?